If it's dirty work you need done, I'll be happy to do it. He wasn't joking. The only gleam in Brain's eyes was one of sincerity. No, that's not it, Brain. I don't want you doing that sort of thing. My life isn't as pure as you think, probably not. Brain, you must have trained your sword in a tremendous amount of blood. But I am the same. But in your case, it's the blood of your country's enemies, right? For me, it was just the result of my own ambition. The blood may be the same, but we're still completely different. Are you trying to atone for your crimes? No, it's not like that. I would have done anything in order to defeat you. I dedicated my life to it. Even after learning that the realm I can reach with my power alone amounts to nothing, I don't feel guilty about anything I did. I just said I could do it because I owe you, that's all. Don't overthink it. Then the answer is I don't want you to do that. What do I owe you for? You mean when we met in the capital? Brain's face soured. Don't worry about it. I just feel indebted to you, that's all. If you tell me not to worry about it, that just makes me want to know even more, sensing a powerful will to refuse. Gazef changed the subject. Oh, and there's no reason for bringing you two here. Huh, Climb was the one who asked. Brain merely raised his eyebrows. I just thought if you were free, it wouldn't be bad for us three to have a talk. The only place I could think of where we could relax and not worry about other people watching us was here. If we were in the capital, I know a quiet place where we could have had a drink, but what, so it was really just to chat? I thought for sure you had a secret mission for me. No. Well, he thought about how losing their lives and never meeting again didn't mean he could say something that might only make them suffer later. Nah, oh Climb, that armor is a little too flashy. You might want to change the color. The way it is, you'll make a good target for the enemy. I can do that, Sir Stronov. Climb refused flatly. This armor will be conspicuous wherever I go. So if I fulfill my duty while wearing it, my deeds will reflect well on Princess Rena. Besides, many nobles know that I wear white armor. If I dyed it another color out of fear, I'd be a laughingstock, and it would cause trouble for the princess. If that's how it'll be, I'd rather die a heroic death and enhance her reputation. Seeing his eyes, Gazef swallowed his replies. Princess Rena doesn't want you to die. Don't confuse recklessness for bravery. Be patient now and become an even greater success later. He could have given him any sort of advice along those lines, but he figured nothing he could say would have the power to change Climb's mind. As Climb said, his white armor was the princess's banner. His achievements would reflect well on her. The opposite was also true. Climb was a warrior from an impoverished background. Rena had saved him, so he believed his life belonged to her. Gazef wouldn't be able to change that conviction. He understood it because it was similar to his oath of loyalty to the king. I would give my life for Princess Rena, the boy declared. Gazef wasn't sure what to say. Whoa. Why are you guys looking into each other's eyes like you're about to die? Relax, Gazef. I'll keep an eye on Climb. I won't let him do anything stupid. And I'll save him no matter what kind of crazy situation he gets into. Against the four, I have no doubt you'll win, Brain. But if Sir Ain't Ulgaun is on the battlefield, you'll die. Is Ain't Ulgaun really that strong? Ah, he's the one I heard about at your house, right? After the demon disturbance, the two had traded stories of their lives since the royal tournament over drinks. It was then that he told Brain about Ain't Ulgaun. I can confidently say there isn't an imperial knight you can beat. The ones called the Four are strong, but I still don't think they could defeat you. If you were lucky, you could probably escape from the Empire's greatest caster, Fluda Paradine. But if Ain't Ulgaun stands in your way, I am sorry, Brain, but that will be as far as your destiny takes you. Really? He that strong? I am certain of it. Brain, he more powerful than what you're currently imagining. You should double or triple your estimate at least. If he that strong, then I wonder if he a match for Sir Sebas. Sebas, the old man you told me about? The old man from your story was shockingly strong, but I think Sir Gaun surpasses him. I would beg to differ. I can really imagine he could be stronger than that man. But anyway, what with the Sir you keep sticking on our enemy's name? He an opponent worthy of respect. But I don't want to cause trouble for the king, so I adjust depending on who I am talking to. Brain shrugged. I have to hand it to you, Captain, and you too, Climb. It seems like there are so many annoying details when it comes to swearing loyalty to the kingdom. I am just allowed to help out. That spacey princess is so generous. It was a Brain-like thing to say, but his attitude toward the royal family was disrespectful. The king's retainer Captain Gazef Stronov frowned. But the warrior Gazef Stronov grinned at the boldness of it. If there were a lot of onlookers, he would have had to reprimand him. But because it was just the three of them, he figured there wouldn't be an issue if he was true to his warrior self. Well, it's true that Princess Rena might be a little too carefree. Well, I understand that you want to change the color of your armor, climb, but in that case, be extra cautious. Thank you for your concern. But Princess Rena also told me to do my best with the color as it is. So I am sorry, but I have no intention of changing it. I see. That's fine then. A cool breeze blew among them. The sky was so clear and blue it was hard to believe a war was about to start. Looking at Climb and his determined face against that backdrop, Gazef felt both joy and sadness. He was glad to have so many people he didn't want to let die. He changed the subject in a purposely light tone to clear his recurring emotions. By the way, what were you two up to before? Climb and Brain exchanged looks. Brain answered. You may be busy, but we have quite a bit of free time. I had him come with me on an errand. Earlier, another guy Lockmeyer showed us the way. Our objective was the adamantite plate adventurer who saved the capital. I heard he makes this place his home base, so we went to go visit him. Oh, Sir Momon? Yeah, him. We didn't really get to talk at all that time in the capital. I wanted to understand the power of the warrior everyone says is the strongest. His mood changed to be more serious. I wanted to ask him about something. Ask him something? Gazef repeated it back as a question. Brain's expression was impossible to describe. Oh, you know that vampire, Sholtia Bloodfallen, Sholtia Bloodfallen. Though Brain Unglaus was equal to Gazef, that ultimate vampire had broken him. He said that monster, against whom humans couldn't win, had appeared in the capital as well. Brain thought she must have had something to do with the demon Jaldabaoth. I heard that Sir Momon destroyed the powerful vampire Honiopnioko with an ultra-rare magic item or something, and that you can find the aftermath of a huge explosion in the forest. Apparently, the fighting was so intense that his armor was all beat up when he came back. That's what Gazef had heard from the mayor. Yeah. I heard the same things. That's why I wanted to talk to him. First of all, personally, I don't think anyone, even with an adamantite plate, can defeat Sholtia Bloodfallen. I don't doubt his abilities, but I did want to ask if he really finished it off. And I am curious about this Honiopnioko too. So you mean there might have been another vampire too? That's right, Climb. From what I've been able to gather, Sir Momon was chasing two vampires, so I wanted to see if it was Honiopnioko and Sholtia. So what did you find out? Well, nothing. Brain shrugged. He wasn't in. Apparently he's out of town on a job, and it's unclear when he'll be back. That's too bad. I guess my luck isn't very good either like you. I didn't really get to talk to him. I was thinking if he had time I'd like to talk, or I'd at least like to thank him for saving the capital. I see. Then, when this fight is over, want to go talk to him together. If we're lucky, we'll be able to meet him. How about you come too, Climb? I would be happy to accompany you. Okay, now I have something to look forward to after this war. He is an adamantite plate warrior. I am sure we'll learn something if we talk with him. Right. He probably has lots of instructive stories. I am looking forward to hearing what kinds of powerful enemies he has fought. That's surprising. I didn't know you liked those kinds of stories, Gazef. Yeah, as a warrior, they definitely interest me personally. Guess we'll have to come back alive, huh? Gazef looked toward the Katsi Plain. I know a pub in the capital that serves great food. When this war is over, want to go there to unwind? My treat. Times like this are one of the reasons to have savings after all. Hopefully we'll be celebrating a victory. Brain stood next to Gazef and gazed in the same direction. Am I invited too? Can you drink, Climb? There were no rules about drinking in the kingdom, but no bartenders would serve teenagers. Well, I've never done it, so I don't know. Oh, then you should try it. Eventually, you'll end up doing some social drinking. That's what we were talking about. Yeah, it might be good to get drunk first. That way you'll understand how it feels. Understood. Then please allow me to go with you. All right, all three of us are going to meet up here safe and sound. Don't go throwing your life away, Gazef said. Brain and Climb nodded in return. Reddish-brown earth extended into the distance. It was a wasteland with barely any green. Gossip-mongers whispered it was blood-stained ground, a land of death. The Katsi Plain was crawling with undead and other monsters. It was known far and wide as a dangerous place. Especially horrifying was the perpetual thin fog. It was a constant, whether night or day, gently concealing the creepers and crawlers. The fog itself gave off a slight, undead reaction. It was true the fog had never directly affected living creatures. It hadn't sucked away their life force or harmed them. But because the fog reacted to undead detection methods, the actual undead often stayed hidden. Many an adventurer had died in a surprise attack. It wasn't foggy now. Visibility was clear for a long way. The plane seemed to welcome the new undead that would spawn as a result of the coming battle. There was no sign of any undead, however. Nothing moved, it was just a stretch of lifeless earth. A collapsed spire and other centuries-old architecture stuck out of the ground like grave markers. None of the buildings retained their original shape. Everything above the third floor of a 6-story tower had crumbled, scattering rubble everywhere. Not even half the thick wall was left. The destruction was a product of numerous battles fought there, not just weathering over time. That scene and the meadow were situated right next to each other, as though someone had drawn a line. This was one of the reasons people thought the plane was cursed. In the sun's once-a-year compassion, which had begun to shine down, a building stood majestically on the other side of the line, in the land of the living looking out over the unhappy grounds. Its construction had required countless large trees, and there were none in the meadow. A sturdy peripheral wall denied entry. There was also a shallow yet effective moat. Sharpened tree branches jutted out of it, a precaution against unintelligent undead. Beyond the moat, innumerable flags fluttered. Most of them were the imperial flag. The flag featured the crest of the Baharuth Empire. That was only natural. This building was the Empire's Katsi Plain base. This time the Empire had mobilized 60,000 knights. All of them were garrisoned at this base. This fact made it unnecessary to waste words explaining how enormous the installation was. It was built with an appearance that made the word sturdy fortress seem most appropriate. The terrain made it both easy to defend and difficult to attack. Indeed, it had been erected in a hilly area. The Katsi Plain didn't naturally have such topography. Rather, it was the result of magic. Of course, even for the Empire, whose national strategy involved increasing the amount of mages available, this wasn't a feat that could be completed in a matter of weeks. The base had been constructed over several years. Originally, they had planned to use the base as their staging point to attack Rantel. It was a giant fortress. It was built with the possibility of siege warfare against hundreds of thousands of kingdom troops in mind. The kingdom hadn't interfered with the construction simply because it didn't have the ability. If the empire attacked, the kingdom would unite and protect its territory. But when it came to launching an invasion, a lot of groundwork needed to be laid down between factions. Another issue was who would get stuck with the financial burden of a war where there wasn't any territory to gain. Ultimately, it came down to the fact that people didn't feel like fighting unless the sparks were coming down directly on them. Above the enormous imperial fortress flew 3 hippogriffs. They slowly descended, tracing a large arc through the air. Any knight knew this was the Emperor's Imperial Air Guard's ceremonial descent pattern. It announced the arrival of an imperial messenger. On the ground, 10 knights stood in a circle, holding imperial flags. It was a ritual to welcome a messenger from the empire. The hippogriffs swooped down into the circle. Their ability to land so close to the center showed how skillful the riders were. Once they touched down, the messengers from the home country became visible. This is why even the honored knights who were allowed to participate in the ritual were surprised that their flags wavered. What threw them off was the appearance of one person who was very different from the accompanying pair. He didn't have his helmet on, so his handsome features were clearly visible. This let everyone recognize him right away. His blonde hair rustled slightly in the breeze. His eyes were like the blue of the deep sea. His tensed lips conveyed his strong will. He had the expression a knight should have. More than anything, there wasn't a person alive who didn't recognize his full plate armor. It was made of precious adamantite and enchanted with powerful magic. Such items were rare in the Empire. You could count them on one finger. The owner of that armor was one of the most important knights in the country. He had a clear voice that matched his handsome looks. He called to one of the knights standing by. "I'd like to see the High Commander of the Second Army, General Carvine. Where can I find him, sir?" "General Carvine is in a meeting. It's in preparation for the battle with the kingdom. The battle will commence in a few days. We have orders to escort you to his tent, Sir Anok, I see. And has His Majesty the King of Darkness, Ain't Ulgaun, arrived?" "No, sir. The King of Darkness has not yet arrived. Got it. Nimble sighed with relief. They were properly informed. The caster hadn't arrived before him. Then can you bring me over? There's one other thing I'd also like to ask of you. He carefully removed something from his breast pocket. Nimble waited about an hour at the splendid tent before its occupant returned with a few escorts. It was a man in the prime of life, with all white hair and a quiet demeanor. He wore the same armor as the knights, but it didn't really suit him. He seemed more like a noble than a military man. Nimble, I thank you for coming. When he smiled, the aristocratic impression grew stronger. His voice was soft, seemingly out of place in this fortress ripe with the odor of battle. Nimble replied with an informal salute. Natal Inyem Dale Carveen, once an obscure noble, his skill had been acknowledged. He was selected by the previous emperor to serve as general of the Second Army. He hardly had any military achievements to his name, but he was known as a reliable commander. It was said that if he fought, he would never lose. Naturally, the Second Army had great morale. In each and every move his men made, it was apparent how much they respected him. I can thank you enough for coming back here even though you were so busy as the high commander of the expedition. The empire had 8 armies. Each army had a general as its senior officer. The general of the First Army was the greatest general who commanded all of them. When there was no general of the First Army, no great general, the next lowest numbered army's general would assume the position. In this case, General Carveen was the senior officer. Now Nimble, you don't have to be so formal. You ray here on the Emperor's orders, right? It's not as if you ray my subordinate. Treat me as an equal. Still Nimble smiled awkwardly. The Emperor was in charge of the military, but below the Emperor was the great general. The Empire's strongest knights, the 4, often carried out orders straight from the Emperor. This meant they were equal in authority to generals, but in terms of age, experience, and sheer presence, Nimble couldn't match Carveen. It would be difficult to treat him as an equal when no one else was around. Looking warmly at Nimble's flustered expression, Carveen smiled. It doesn't feel right for an old man like me to be treated with such reverence by one of the Empire's strongest knights, either. At least relax a little bit. Understood, General. Carveen nodded as if to accept Nimble's slightly less uptight attitude. It's good timing that you came today. It's like the fog lifted to welcome you. General Carveen, surely it's not to welcome me but the tragedy that is about to befall the kingdom. How awful. Tragedy, so tell me, Nimble, what's the aim of starting a war this big? Up until now, the point was to sap the kingdom, but this time it's different. This time the end goal is to seize Rantel as a peace concession by winning on the battlefield. Carveen's eyes gleamed like blades. The kingdom has mobilized many more soldiers than usual. Though our knights are far stronger than their peasant soldiers, their numbers are overwhelming and violent. If we really do clash, we can expect quite a few casualties. Even if we succeed in taking Rantel, we just hand it right over to the King of Darkness. What in the world is His Imperial Majesty thinking? First, we need to be alone. Carveen opened his mouth slightly and jerked his head. Out, fellas. His aides bowed and exited the room as indicated. I appreciate it. Wasting time is for fools, right? So will you tell me? Yes. The Emperor actually sent me with instructions to tell each general about our war objective. Nimble took a seat. The war this time is for building friendly relations with the King of Darkness, King Aints Ul Gown. The method we've decided on is to take Rantel at the cost of bloodshed and then give it to him. Losing the knights who keep order in the Empire could endanger our nation, but it's still worth the price to make the offering to the King of Darkness. Yes. Carveen crossed his arms and shut his eyes, but only for a moment. Understood. If it's the Emperor's idea, then I'll go along. Thank you. No thanks are necessary. Let us work to impress the King of Darkness. About that there's a favor I'd like to ask you. Nimble brought up the most important reason he had come. First, we were going to have the King of Darkness cast a spell. We'd like the knights to move after that. What's that for? Isn't the point for us to shed buckets of blood to get him indebted to us? There is that, but another one of our goals is to see what he can do. Apparently, the Emperor has asked him to use the most powerful spell he can cast. We want to see how powerful it really is. So the King of Darkness is a potential enemy. It seems like you get the idea. King of Darkness, Aints Ul Gown, is the Empire's enemy. I see. Then once he looses his spell, knights will charge into the wound and tear it open even more. What level of magic will it be? I wonder, something like fireball. We were investigating because we don't know, but it estimated that his attack magic is more powerful than Paradine S. Carveen's eyes grew huge, but only for a moment. I see. Well, I doubt he could possibly surpass that great caster, but if that's how much power he has, then I can see why His Majesty would want to cultivate friendly relations with him at all costs. Nimble said nothing. If several hundred people died in a single attack, that would be quite a deep wound.